If we were in Africa, we may seek out a witch doctor to heal us from all the words that spill out of our mouths on Bewitched Banter. You have been warned. Content is not suitable for all listeners.
Welcome! You're listening to Bewitched Banter.
I'm Krista, and I believe that people are inherently shitty.
And I'm Amy, and I tend to believe that people are naturally good.
But ironically, I'm a super believer in the supernatural and all things spiritual.
And I'm a total skeptic.
We're best friends, and in this podcast, we're seeking to explore and understand each other's perspectives with deep dives into the spooky, the spiritual, the magical, and the mystical.
And some straight up spoofs.
Today, we'll be covering witches and witchcraft from Africa and the Eastern world.
Woohoo! And it's Krista's birthday!
It sure is! So I couldn't think of a better day to say, let's get spiritual.
I mean, I'm your bestie, so I should be Team Krista, but I'm gonna say fuck that and get cynical.
As you should. Cheers!
Yay! And what are we drinking?
A beautiful red blend from California called The Witching Hour. And I believe it's from the Witching Hour Vineyards. So
we need to go.
Yeah, we do. And really go at Witching Hour, which I believe from my spiritual knowledge.
Yeah, I was like, when is Witching Hour? So I would not know
3
that.
a.m.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's like right around
well, I don't think
twilight.
the wineries are going to be open at 3 a.m.
Well,
are they?
Maybe they'll open for us for a ghost tour of the vineyards. I don't know.
They'll get these girls out of this winery now.
Get these bitches out. No.
They're haunting us. They're back.
Kind of like the time we got kicked out of, well, it was a brewery, not a winery, in California.
Oh, after my engagement. That was so fun.
I'm just so excited that we're here, that you're here. Thank you for listening to us, and hell yes, let's celebrate.
Yes, I'm so excited for this wild ride. We're gonna have, and then we're gonna record, and we're gonna go out for a bomb ass dinner. I can't wait.
Yes, I'm talking homemade pasta, pizza. We're going full on.
Oh, I love North. It's so good.
So good. Shout out Fox Restaurant Concepts. Sponsor us. Anyway, from a birthday celebrating with 2 of my girlfriends and my parents, so super stoked. We're starting the party a little early with Witching Hour is all. It's our Witching Hour right now that we're recording.
Yeah.
So what do you have in store for us, Ames, of Eastern witches / European?
I got a lot.
Eastern
Let's
African.
say be prepared.
Oh God, I'm nervy. Excited, nervy.
Well,
excited.
My history's cool. It's good. But I'm really excited about my story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the part I'm I can't wait to tell about.
Okay. I can't wait to tell about mine either, but you go first, obviously.
Or are we going to make this the
switching up the format, because this whole time, as we've discussed, it's really been the Krista show.
Yeah, I was like, is this about to be the Krista podcast?
Well, it is. Listen, it's my dating app. It's my... What else was it? I don't even remember. Certainly my dating app.
Wouldn't that be great, though, if you had a listener, reach out to you?
Oh, my God. I'm open, fellas. If you are kind, smart, and I said intelligent by saying smart, but if you... I feel
like every man has a big ego, though. He's going to be dun, 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 I'm all those things.
Oh, honey, I ain't dealing with no BDE unless you got BDE. You know what I'm saying? You got a BD, call me.
But that would be so cool if someone actually reached out to you.
That would be. Let's manifest that in my spirituality.
Or we started a podcast and then it became Krista's Love Life. I would love that.
Which currently does not exist. I'm also not only in this is my single life podcast, it's also my now unemployed list podcast. It's my employment directory agency.
I don't think anyone's hiring us off this podcast.
Oh, damn.
That'd be awesome.
Anyone want to take us on their network?
Or, if you pay me good money, I'm hireable.
Well, let's give them something to talk about.
So, basically, this is our last little mini episode on witches, because we have done Salem and Western witchcraft, and we're going to move on to today covering African witchcraft.
In Eastern parts of the world that we didn't get to, right? Or is it all African?
It's all African.
Okay, sweet. Mine too.
I forgot to give you the memo.
Oh, that's okay. You know what? I was hungover at the company. We the partners, meaning I the one only partner.
You slacking? Not remembering when I'm texting you?
Oh, yeah. Oops. Hey, listen, I was not drinking for 35 plus days, and I drank for my weekend of my birthday and had a little fun.
No, I'm not guilty.
I may have blacked out for like 3 days, but it's fine. I'm here for witching hour.
Anyway, so yes, our topic is African, because I do feel like it later on, because I don't want to do overboard witchcraft, but Asian and Japanese, that was another thing that came up, would be kind of cool.
I'd love to learn more about that someday.
Yeah, definitely. Basically, with European witch hunts, we know like the fear of witchcraft like started with the Black Plague, and the book I talked about, The Hammer of Witches.
Yep.
But for Africa, they don't really have many records showing how it really started and like how people started to like create perceptions about witches.
Okay.
But so basically, European witch hunts are like more of a problem in the past. Okay. But so witch hunts really are today still at large, and they're still happening.
Jesus.
So there are actual records of witchcraft starting in 1825 in Botswana.
Okay.
And there are also records of people believing in witches around the beginning of the 19th century in Ghana.
Okay.
So most African societies, and I'm going to preface this because when I say, I wanted to explain, disclaimer, I might say a lot of times just to keep it short and be more, not to make it too much wordy. Sometimes when I say African societies believe this, take it with a grain of salt. Not all of them. Okay. Because it's hard to summarize a whole continent.
Oh, yeah. It's massive,
so we could literally do like one country, but I'm trying to do a whole continent. So just remember that it's not all of them.
Sure.
So if you are somehow like a random expert in what they believe in South Africa, some of the things I might say might not line up.
Okay. Where was the part of Africa you studied in? Remind me again. Because I'm...
Not study. So I went to... Swaziland. So it was actually, now it's named Eswatini.
Oh.
I actually practiced saying this earlier and I'm not saying it right, but
I wouldn't be able to help you.
It's like Eswatini. They renamed it in 2018, but it still is. It's like the smallest country in the southern hemisphere.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's tiny. So actually I have a funny story. So I hopped on a public bus and it's a little white van. So imagine your normal like general contractor coming over, a plumber. God. And they would shove literally 20 people into this little bus. And they would have like, you would have to cram in. And they would have rows and rows and rows and then they would have seats that fold up so people can climb in. Seats that fold down. And one day, me and my friend that I met there, we were supposed to go to Care Point because I would take the public transportation. I would go to a Care Point, and I was basically volunteering because UNICEF was donating to meals as a way to motivate the kids to come to school. Right. And it wasn't really a school, but it's a Care Point, and they were getting food. And then when they were getting food, we were like playing games with them.
Basic development.
Yeah, and then we would try to teach them a little bit of English. Like,
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. We did like a random Easter egg hunt with them one day, and then we made the oh my God, if you could. We try to make our own, why can't I think of the word where you hit a stick and the candy...
Pinata.
Pinata, thank you.
You're welcome.
I
said stick candy, got you.
I was having a brain fart. So we made like the worst version of pinata, and we went and just found some random stick on the road and like let the kids beat it. They had so much fun.
I bet. Yeah,
but anyways.
What a cool experience. So, we digressed again, but Amy did study in Africa. For anyone trying to be like, what do these bitches know? She did, how long did you live here? A month?
2 months. 2 months. I absolutely loved it. So I went to Swaziland, and then I worked at the Care Point, and then we did a week-long camping trip. We went to Kruger National Park. It's where you go to see lions, zebras, giraffes. Yeah, safari.
Oh, cool.
And then we went to Mozambique, and we went on, we stayed in, kind of like a open hut and lived on the beach. And it was the coolest week of my life. Wow. I did not put shoes on the entire week I was there because we were on the beach. We'd walk to the beach, and then at night if we wanted to go to the bars or, out to eat, we would just walk onto the beach to go anywhere. Then you go in any restaurant, any place, they're all open air. You didn't have to wear shoes anywhere.
Okay. now another dumb follow-up geography question. What ocean?
You're asking me?
Oh, so you don't even... Okay, good. I'm thinking... Well, what part was Swaziland? What?
It's on the side that faces Australia.
So that would be the Pacific Ocean. Or Indian Ocean, wouldn't it be?
No. This is not a geography podcast.
Okay, next. Anyway.
You all Google it, because I don't know.
Google that shit. I don't either.
But anyway, regardless, if you have the opportunity to go, it's such a cool experience. I loved it. It was a great opportunity. Oh, interesting tidbit, too. I don't want to talk too much about Swaziland because that'll go on forever, but Swaziland was actually colonized by England. Mm-hmm. So it had a lot of English.
Of course it was.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But I'm giving her the stink eye.
It had a lot of, I could tell it was like, definitely had some English roots to it.
Got it. Okay. So you
like
felt a little homey.
Yeah, and like some of the food and like the way they spelled things. Okay. I could tell.
So like color with a U.
Yes.
Yep.
But you don't say color, you say color.
But why the fuck does it have a U?
Because why did Americans change it to O?
I don't know. Ask my Puritanical
Should we say
ancestors. I don't fucking know. I'm a New Englander. I don't know.
That's what I'm asking.
We took our shit from y'all. I don't know.
Anyway, so basically, I was saying there's no records of witchcraft, right? They believe that certain members of society use supernatural means to cause harm to others. They often call these...
Well, that goes back to your malicious intent in East or Western witches.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting.
Mm-hmm. And they often call these people either witches or sorcerers. A sorcerer is someone who is believed to have magical powers.
Okay, but a witch doesn't necessarily?
They do. And to be honest, they're so closely related, and I thought about including the difference, but for sake of time, I was like, we can do that another day.
Well, yeah, because they had the pointy hats. Like, if you think about Fantasia, like, Mickey's were going to have pointy hat, like witches were. Okay.
Yeah, there are differences, but they're so minute. I was like, another time.
Yeah, another day, another place, another time.
Yeah.
when y'all return to listen to these Bewitches.
And I thought this was really interesting. A recent study that was conducted estimates that over half of the population in southern Africa, the region I was in, the Saharan region, believes in witches. Yeah, so it's very
popular,
rampant.
Strong belief system.
Yes. Often the Western world perception of a witch is that the evil powers stem from a relationship from an evil spirit. So we know like a devil, right?
Or a disgruntled past lover? No, not so much? Okay.
Maybe. So in contrast, most Central African countries believe that a witch can channel their evil powers from within. So that's the difference. It's like they believe... So the Europeans believed it was like they had a relationship, they're getting it from the devil, but the Africans believe it's like it's coming from with the evilness is coming from within. And they can actually, the source of all this, they instead of the heart, I thought this was interesting, is through their stomach. And it's believed that the amount of evil power which can harness can sometimes depend on their age.
Okay.
And African witches can channel their evil powers by themselves, but like most of the cultures believe, like they can use like spells and potions to enhance their magical powers.
Okay.
So it's almost like the Europeans thought like the witches were channeling the devil through their bodies, and then the Africans almost, from my understanding, is like they're channeling their evilness from within themselves.
And ancestors as well, I think, right? Isn't there like a huge spiritual tie to ancestral?
If there is, I didn't come across it.
Okay. I thought there was. Like, I don't know if you think about, not trying to be like all about Disney today, this is my second Disney reference, but like Lion King, where it was about the circle of life through ancestors was the whole, basically the lesson. And even when I'll cover later more about Voodoo and Santeria, that it was all about ancestral powers, like spiritual.
Maybe, yeah. I don't think that's like essential part of their beliefs about witches. Though.
Got it.
It might be though. So some cultures believe that African witches actually act unconsciously, like they don't even realize or they're unaware of the problems they're causing, and they can cause like they can wish someone ill and like perform black magic without even realizing it. And to me, that is very...
And we'll get into black magic in Voodoo episode number 5, and Yeah, I'm getting on the pissed off train when we use that term. But we won't do that tonight.
But basically, to me, like, that sounds like BS, because if someone is causing harm on someone and they don't even realize it, then it might be really easy to point your finger and be like, hey, you did this. And they'd be like, well, I don't know. And they'd be like, well, that's what a witch does.
Right.
So we all know that European witches, like, supposedly have orgies with the devil. So now I'm going to kind of go into some of them. Like, you're going to notice there's a lot of, like, they cross over.
Okay.
But some of them are unique to African culture. Because they are very similar. You have to imagine some of the beliefs probably stem back from the European culture.
Okay.
Of, like, the witch hunts back in the day. So they often assemble at graveyards or around a fire to feast on blood, like a vampire would. A witch can take someone's soul from their body, and if they keep possessing their soul, the victim will die.
Okay.
Witches are known to be cannibals and practice incest. They often cause harm to people they know, and they tend to not... I thought this was really interesting. So it's kind of like true crime. It took me totally back to that. It's like when you hear about someone who gets, like, murdered or hurt, it's usually by someone you know, right? It's not by just some random evil person walking by. So they have the same belief that a witch is more likely going to be someone you know.
Okay, right. The perpetrator in a true crime, at least in America, is usually, like, the spouse.
Not just in America. I think it's just in the whole world.
Oh, really? Is it? Okay. Likely...
Well, most of the time, like, when you're hurting someone or doing something bad to someone, you usually have a motive. It's not you're just crazy, right?
Yeah, it's like
you have a relationship with them, and they've made you angry, so you're doing this. And so they have the same belief. It's not just some random person you don't know being casting a spell on you. It's probably going to be, like, your sister who might have some, like, be pissed off at you. They believe that witches can fly. Witches can transform into animals, birds, reptiles, and insects. And this is very similar to Europe. They believe they can cause droughts and disasters. They can make men impotent and can inflict disease and death on others. So a lot of similarity. For this reason, Africans will use, like, different methods to protect themselves for witchcraft. They will wear good luck charms. They will take medicine, and we're more traditional medicine. We're talking, like, something that's derived from a plant. And with these medicines, they're not only ingesting them, but they're also, like, rubbing them in their body. If they find an open wound, they'll rub it into the wound as well.
I put aloe on this burn this weekend.
Exactly. So
I believe in that.
Topical, right?
Yep.
Topical.
I mean, look at that. That was my dumbass being in my bender that I mentioned earlier, getting pizza out of the oven. Anyway.
And they will perform spiritual rituals that they believe will make their huts or crops invisible to witches to keep them safe. So now we're going to get into how do they seek out and find witches in society. So
right, like, yeah, the hunts, if you will.
Yes. And it's different from European.
Okay.
So in southern Sudan, they will feed a poisonous substance to a chicken while they mention the name of an alleged witch. If the chicken dies, that confirms that the person is a witch.
Those poor chickens.
Yeah, I was like, oh, damn, it's kind of sad for the chicken, too. And then in parts of Central Africa, they will give the suspected witch poison to digest. But I thought this was interesting. So they will also give it to the person who accuses them as well to make sure, like, so let's say you go forward and say, Amy's a witch, right? They're like, okay, so Amy's going to take poison, but you're going to take it too. To make sure you're not just ratting me out for no reason.
Oh, damn, they don't play around.
But I like that.
I mean, sure, but...
I mean, I shouldn't say I like that. That's the wrong term.
Amy's a murderess, if y'all didn't know. My best friend's a killer.
Yeah, I should not say I like that. That was the wrong term, but...
No, I know what you mean.
I hope you guys get what I'm putting down.
You appreciate that there's a check and balance other than...
Okay, thank you.
Then there's just the, what I call it in Salem, lack of evidence, and you're just pointing your finger.
Okay, thank you. Krista,
I understood you.
Listen to Krista. Thank you.
I'm the dumb one, right, Kevin?
Oh, that's one of our friends. We joke because he's a troll on our podcast.
Who said I am dumb. Not exactly. Anyway, being dramatic. What else is new?
Don't feed the other trolls.
Come at me, bitches.
Don't say that. No. Don't come at me. Be nice. Okay.
I'll fuck you up. Like, you don't even know. Come at me.
Okay, Krista is now very confident, and later she'll be crying.
I will be crying in Amy's
when
arms.
someone is being mean.
I will. I'm a sensitive bitch.
I'm sensitive too. Moving on. So the person will be found guilty if they retain the poison, and if the person reacts by vomiting, then they are innocent.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was really surprising.
Well, at least you get off the hook for just your physiology. I mean.
Yeah, but so unfortunately, sometimes when a person retains the poison, they will later on faint, vomit, and occasionally die. So I'm wondering if they just don't inform them that they're giving them the poison.
Probably. Or probably not, rather.
In southern Africa, they believe that a diviner can find witches through their dreams and other means, sometimes by smelling them. So an African diviner is a person who can reveal secret information from the past and the future, and it's all through a divine calling.
Cool. So divination. But as a person, that's cool.
So like Europe, a lot of witches, unfortunately, are burned as a punishment when they are found guilty. I thought this was interesting, too, just because you're thinking about like geography, where they're at. In Europe, cats, dogs, and weasels are commonly associated as a witch's familiar. So in Africa, it's going to be different, honestly. It's going to be hyenas, owls, and baboons are commonly listed as a witch's familiar. And for anyone who
That's the Lion King. Baboon, Rafiki, was almost like, I don't know if I'm using the term correctly, a witch doctor. Remember, he wrote signs and symbols on the trees for Simba.
Oh, yeah.
And he told the future.
I love Lion King.
Yeah, amazing. There's some serious problematic things in it, but...
Let's stick to the positive tonight.
Yeah, we're going to positives.
Familiar is usually a small pet that serves as a witch's companion. They're usually seen as loyal guardians and protectors to witches who are sent to assist them with their magic.
Cool.
So something that's very different, which I thought was kind of cool, I don't know if cool is the right word, but I'll go with it, is that certain African societies believe that witches have familiars that are human origin or appearance, such as a zombie or a hairy dwarf.
Huh. A zombie, I've heard it through my studies of Voodoo and Santeria and Spiritualismo, I think, but I've never heard of a hairy dwarf. That's so weird.
Next question.
Weird may not be the right term. Different.
Because I was going to say, like, we obviously love our dogs, but if you had to pick, like, your dream familiar.
And it can't be a dog?
Well, it can't be our pets, because that's like
Okay.
That's easy. Like, oh, my dog Ella, my dog Molly, which I was saying, Coltrane.
Oh, 100, that bitch is...
But you gotta pick another animal.
Another animal? Oh, that's tough. It'd have to be...
It could be a dog, but I'm just saying you have to pick one.
It would have to be a bird, frankly, because of the flight. I want to be able to, like, see, you know? I don't know what kind of bird. Maybe macaw. Colorful ones in the tropics. And they speak. Something there, I think. But...
Well, I feel like a familiar, if we really believed in witchcraft, which I don't.
Oh, well.
You really do?
I think I'm going to learn about it this year.
What does that mean? Yeah.
It means I'm very curious to learn about.
But do you believe in it?
Yeah, I do. I think it's no different than the wise women that you covered last week doing herbal remedies to heal people.
I believe people can heal people. I think people can be intuitive, but I don't believe in witches. Like, I don't believe people have magical powers. I feel like some people are very, very, like, are very talented at picking up on, like, being intuitive, like, or just noticing patterns or reading people.
Sure.
I think that's what people are good at. I don't believe people actually have magical powers, though.
I do. Whether they're psychic, witches, whatever, or sensitive mediums, like I said, I don't know.
But I percentage, like, do you think...
I think it's a very small percentage because we're taught...
Have you ever met someone you actually have... Well, we kind of talked about this before.
I did, and we'll cover that in
we talked
tarot.
About this, yeah.
In my tarot history, I met a witch, and yeah, I've been convinced ever since I met her that
unfortunately, and I feel like this kind of contradicts our intro, but I believe a lot of people are just monopolizing on sad people.
No doubt, and I won't ever dispute that, right? Because back to the intro, yeah, people do that, and that's why people are inherently shitty, because we're survivalists by nature, human beings are. But that to say, that doesn't mean, just because people by nature are shitty, that doesn't mean every human being is. And I do believe in the good of mankind overall, but like, inherently, again, people are inherently shitty just because that's all we know how to survive. That's all.
But I don't think people, if they were given better means, they might not be shitty. I think naturally people want to be good. It's just people get put in extreme situations. I'm not saying there's not terrible people out there, but I'm saying I understand, yes, if you are in a situation you can't feed your family tonight and you pickpocket and you steal, that's different. And I do generally think people do want to do well for people. I do think the past year or two, I don't want to get into COVID so much tonight, but it's like, that's really made me question, like, people, like, you can't do a simple thing like wear a mask. People are selfish pricks.
But we'll get into that many times later.
Yeah.
Many episodes later.
My dream familiar, I'm trying, like, I asked you, and I'm racking my brain now, like, what would it be?
Macaw for me, for sure.
I don't know if it's just because they're cute, but a sea otter.
Oh, they are so fucking cute.
I want to be like a sea otter that or have a sea otter and they're holding hands with their partner.
Water's a conduction of life.
I think I'm just doing a sea otter because I think they're cute. But
they are cute
regardless, they pass the cute test, so I'll pick them.
They sure do. Amy's an otter familiar. I'm a macaw.
Today, many colonial authorities have banned using I'm not saying that right. Say it for me.
See, it's a hard one. I remember how much I tripped up on it in tarot.
Say it for me.
Divinization.
No, I'm trying to say divinatory.
You got it. Divinatory.
Divinatory practice, such as smelling out a witch or using poison to detect a witch.
What do they smell like? Sorry,
I don't know that.
Now I'm like confused. Like, I want to know, do they smell like BO? Do they smell sweet? Do they smell good?
Good question.
I'm just curious.
So most countries in Africa have banned the search of a witch and it's illegal to accuse someone of witchcraft. This hasn't stopped Africans from still searching for witches, and they tend to use now like more secretive methods to identify a witch.
Okay.
And this has also led to like an uptick in anti-witchcraft cults being established. And
that's not good.
And there are still churches that conduct witch hunts. Today, many women and children are still a target for being accused of witchcraft. And that, like I said at the very beginning, a lot of us, I thought this was the thing of the past. Not at all. So they recently announced that August 10th has been declared as a World Day Against Witch Hunts. Many women are victims of witch hunts today in Africa, but also in Southeast Asia and Latin America.
That I knew. Yeah, obviously with my connection with Latinx culture, but wow, Asia I didn't know. Africa I didn't know either.
And it happens in 36 nations today that we know of.
That's too many. No, not one.
And the Pope actually is the one that declared the National Day Against Witch Hunts. And so from our recent episode...
Oh, against. Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't for it. We know, like, they're one of the main guilty culprits of why, like, witch hunts started. Because it's like a historical obligation. Like, they kind of...
Protecting sexy Jesus, as always. You know.
Well, they're trying to probably...
cultivate power and maintain it.
Yes, but... I mean, you can look at it in that negative lens, but they're also trying to a little bit contribute in a positive way.
By banning witch hunts, yes, I will agree with that.
Yes. And, like, here I am, not the church person, I'm sticking up for a church. What's going on?
I know. What happened here? What's up?
No, but I will take any little bit of good coming out of anyone who it is. I'll take it at the end of the day.
That's why she believes people are good, and I think people are dicks.
This next part may be really shocking to hear. We know European witch hunts lasted a total of 3 centuries. And we know from the last episode, it was about 60 to 80,000 people were assumed to be killed during this time. And this is where it's really heartbreaking. So, but historians are now saying, or they're not really historians because it's present day, I should say, are saying that more people are being killed from witch hunts today. So between 1960 and 2000, 40,000 people who were accused of practicing witchcraft in Tanzania alone were murdered. So just one country in Africa. And I said 36 nations.
Holy shit.
Yes. And so part of the reason why there are so many witch hunts taking place in Africa is that several churches have blamed diseases such as HIV and AIDS,
of course,
or female infertility on witchcraft.
Oh my god, that anger meter is just blah, blah, blah.
Well, it's great you're saying that because I felt like I wanted to end on a good note. I mean, some of it's still depressing, but I wanted to bring up some light in the darkness because I know witchcraft has been a little dark, and I hope you guys don't get the impression we always just talk about dark, sad shit. So in 2014, in Ghana, around 1,000 women and 500 children were released from witch camps after Ghana abolished this practice.
Okay.
So I'm assuming you don't know what a witch camp is, right?
I was going to say, is it like a Nazi extermination camp? Or could I...
I'm going to get into it.
I was going to say, if anything could be that horrific again, then my theory on people being absolute pieces of shit is true.
A witch camp is a place where a woman, child, or sometimes a man would seek refuge because they have been accused of being a witch. This may be because they have a mental illness or like being a eccentric, outspoken person like us.
God forbid a woman's outspoken.
A widow. And this is really sad. I know I said I had some good news, but we got to dive into the sad to get to the happy.
She lied to us.
Yeah, sorry, I'm lying to all you guys. I'm here to make I'm here to make you cry. One witch camp in Ghana, it was reported that 70% of the people sent there were widows, and this is a way for the family, like it's freaking evil to take the widow's property. So they basically like will say like, hey, they're a witch, and they outcast them from society, and so they're like, I'm gonna be like murdered or I'm going to be killed. God knows what's going to happen to me. So they're going to flee to a witch camp, and then the family comes in and takes the property.
Wow.
Yeah, evil, right?
I mean, that's similar to where widows are taken advantage of often, right? But holy shit.
A lot of times, if something unfortunate such as a drought would happen to a village, like they want to find someone to blame. So they're going to find a witch to blame, and they blame it on witchcraft, so they're going to be outcast as well. They were often accused of causing, like I said at the beginning, death, illness, or famine. And even though these places are refuge, like we can kind of think about, unfortunately, like things that are going on at the border, they're not being given the basic essentials.
No.
So they don't have, like, a lot of the camps don't have running water or electricity. And these witch camps,
children don't even know their names, or let alone their parents' names, you know? Like, can't even, I'm gonna get, oof.
And these witch camps started over 100 years ago, so it's not just like a recent thing. Back to the good news.
Okay, please.
So I'm
Jesus, there's some good news.
The Ghana government has been working on integrating these people, like I said, mostly women, back into society. And the government has admitted it's going to be a long road ahead of them. They're predicting it might take them 10 to 20 years to really educate people. Well, you're not going to tomorrow.
Right, of course.
Change someone's perception, beliefs. It's going to take a long road. You got to educate.
Lifetimes and generations, 100%.
Exactly. The thing I think is great is that the government's getting involved. They're like, this isn't happening anymore. Good. And we're going to help these women. We're going to be an advocate for them. We're going to educate people on what witchcraft is and the superstitions, and it's not real. But that's my positive light. I wanted to find
there's some reparations.
Yeah, I want to look at some. I know it was a little dark, so I'm trying to find some silver light.
Silver lighting is the one.
Is the wild road of African witchcraft, and I absolutely love the country. I remember when I was in Africa, one of the big sayings we used to say is TIA. This is Africa. That was our saying.
I love that.
Yeah, we would say that like all the time. And it's honestly, I've had like Uber drivers. I've met other people and they're like from Africa, and I say TIA and they know what I'm talking about.
Oh, so it's an actual thing. I thought you were saying like you and your like cohorts like.
No, it's a thing that you say there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like you know how like, we were like fuck America, blah blah blah. Shit's going crazy.
Well, yeah.
So the saying there, at least in the region I was in, because I can't speak to the whole continent, because that's a
massive,
and it's the cultures and everything has to be so diverse. But where I was, we would always say TIA.
Oh, well, then in that case, cheers to TIA. So, Ames, in your lifetime, if you could take a guess, how many times have you said, I am spiritual, but not religious, or I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual?
Like never, ever, ever?
Really? You've never said that before? I know I've said it like countless times.
I guess to me, I don't count myself as a religious or a spiritual person. I mean, I could probably maybe like try to be a little bit more spiritual, but that is not me at all. I'm like, when people start talking to me about that kind of stuff, I'm usually like, let me walk out of the room or do like that fake laugh. I'm not really buying it.
So you have like totally given me respect, or like maybe have totally played me all these years.
I'm just a really good friend.
Oh, shit.
So you thought I was a spiritual person?
So I knew you were never religious, but I always thought you might at least consider yourself spiritual.
So my thing is, if anyone wants to be spiritual, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
My pause is when people are following organized religions. I don't want to tell anyone to believe what you want to believe, as long as you're not trying to impose your beliefs on others. I think I'm more wary of organized religions because I feel like organized religions are like, let's started war, started how many awful things.
Right? Same. I am so glad we're having this conversation because it ties exactly into what I'm going to talk to here in a little bit. Whether you're religious or spiritual, really, who cares? As long as you're investing in yourself and others and making the world a better place. It doesn't matter whether it's quote unquote religious or quote unquote spiritual.
Well, I don't care if you're like praising to a tree. As long as you're being kind to people, go for it.
Exactly.
As long as you're not bugging me. I don't like when people are starting to like, when they come to you and they're like, well, you need to believe what I believe.
Right. Like I have the same exact problem. Like people who preach to you in such a pushy way and regardless of your beliefs, and just like derail your own, that's not cool either. Yeah, so that's really, in a nutshell, what drew me in my recent interest in learning about Wicca.
Would you call yourself a Wiccan?
No, definitely not. I haven't read about it enough. I haven't studied enough. You know, granted, you can be a solo practitioner, but I have not put in the energy or time space from my mind, body, or heart to consider myself one. But one day, perhaps.
So I don't know if you're going to get into this in your story, but I do have a question. So, like I know Christians go to church. Do Wiccans have a place like they meet every Sunday?
No, not that I'm aware of at this point. But the beautiful thing about Wicca is that it's a nature-based religion. It can be practiced solo. It can be practiced in a group. But it really is nature worshiping in a nutshell. From the little I understand about it, and obviously I'm going to learn more, but tying to my story and no practice of or specific place of worship, so many Wiccans and those who are practicing witchcraft of all creeds are finding their communities digitally online. Meanwhile, I was raised in the Roman Catholic Church, and I did not get that luxury of sleeping in to attend Mass online, which one silver lining of COVID offers digital masses to anyone with internet access. But yeah, I did not get the opportunity to sleep in every Sunday as a Catholic.
I didn't realize you were raised Catholic.
Yeah, girl, I totally was, but I was really lucky because my mom basically said to both me and my sister, she said, girls, you choose when you grow up to learn what you want, preach what you want, practice what you want. And that stems kind of from, she was forcibly raised in the Catholic Church, not only just kindergarten, from preschool all the way up until college. She went to a Jesuit university, which is a sect of Catholicism. So from that moment forward, she gave us the opportunity to choose our religious and or spiritual paths.
That's awesome. That's like how I feel like every parent should be. Because growing up for myself, my dad's definitely atheist, right? My mom is atheist, but I would call her agnostic light.
I love that. I've never heard that term before.
Well, I just kind of came up with it. But I think it's true because my mom always, like, she probably would say she doesn't believe in anything. But growing up, I remember, like, having a conversation with her after I had gone to church so many times. Mm-hmm. I was going to these churches, and it was honestly kind of an awful experience because my parents had told me at a young age that they were atheists. They didn't believe in anything. And then I had friends who would bring me to their churches. The sermon would tell me, if you do not save yourself, you are going to hell. But I was like 8 years old. And so I have all these people from the church community telling me one thing. And then my parents are like, they don't believe. And I'm like, oh my God, like, am I going to hell or are my parents going to hell? I actually once tried to save my dog. Oh. I was like, you got to go with me.
Oh, that's so freaking sweet. I love that. And it's also the perfect segue into what I'm talking about today, as far as the religious versus spiritual debate and why millennials, and particularly African American millennials considering themselves witches, are really forming these digital covens. This is a quote from The Atlantic, a piece by Siegel Samuel, The Witches of Baltimore. Young Black women are leaving Christianity and embracing African witchcraft. Quote, some hallmarks of millennial spirituality are common to both white and African American witches. They're typically disillusioned with the hierarchical institutions, i.e. the Catholic Church, for example, as we just discussed, and attached to a more DIY, spiritual, quote, but not religious, practices such as the use of crystals. But the budding Black witch community also has unique traits, including their desire for safe spaces, awareness of cultural appropriation, and a penchant for the digital religion. End quote.
So they're like DIYing, Pinteresting their own religion.
Right, like exactly. So again, these DIY practices can include meditation, hello me, digital masses, candles, yoga, nature bathing, crystals perhaps.
I do think crystals are total BS, by the way.
So I probably use them as a placebo.
There's nothing wrong with the placebo. I don't, like, if something makes you feel better, do it.
Right.
But to me, like a crystal, I'm like, that's just a pretty rock where they sold you this rock and told you it had some magical powers.
So you're probably not wrong.
It's all about money at the end of the day. It's like, how can we monopolize on this and make money? It's like, oh, look at this pretty rock. It has this will give you love.
Yeah, look how awesome crystals worked out for me in my love life. But in a nutshell, millennials are flocking to Wicca and witchcraft in droves, ditching their old religions, again, in more favor of these do-it-yourself practices.
Well, they say that people are leaving the church in huge numbers. And it'd be interesting, like, I know you probably don't have the numbers, but it'd be interesting to know. Obviously, it's a lot of millennials. Don't want to keep the practice. Mm-hmm. But I also, like, I'm curious, like, how many people, like, boomers, for example, are keeping the tradition alive. Because it seems like, again, I've told you this before, I live in a bubble.
Yeah.
So I don't know any really religious people except one person. It's like, that I'm close to. I know religious people, but I'm not really close to them. But it's like, it'd be interesting to know, like, even if, like, just with all, like, the information we have at our fingertips today, if that's causing people to leave, or if it's like a generation thing that millennials are leaving.
Well, I think it's probably a mixture of both, right? So you have, like, information at your fingertips now, like, immediately. So millennials can go out and question things a lot quicker and more conveniently, and not be forced this, like, religion down their throat. You know, like my mom was. God love my grandparents, who are past, but boomers, obviously. Or no, our parents are boomers. But anyway, they forced it on her. And so, again, she was like, go do your thing. But she became really disillusioned, actually, with the church at a really young age. Ugh, it's so creepy. Like, if you ever watch The Keepers, I think about my mother all the time. She was raised in the communities where the pedophilia among priests were rampant. So this story gives me chills to this day. Apparently, there was a priest in their church who completed suicide and was found in a bathtub. So you can imagine that scene. But it was evidently because he was either going to be implicated or knew of instances of said pedophilia within their church community. And I remember her telling me that my grandfather was like fucking pissed, and like just she remembers him arguing with a deacon or somebody at the church, and like all because of this. So I'm praying she was protected. I don't know. I pray that nothing ever happened to her that we don't know about.
Oh my God, that's like so horrific. I can't believe your mom had to go through that.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. That means a lot. So back to the topic at hand, which is digital covens being on the rise, specifically within Black communities. I also wanted to do a quick sidebar on cultural appropriation. Obviously, Amy and I are white women and have no doubt been advantaged our entire lives merely because we are white. She and I will never, absolutely never know what it's like to live in the shoes of people and women of color. So I fully, wholeheartedly respect and honor the need and desire for those safe spaces that have become digital covens for Black witches. And for anyone who's been marginalized, debased, or belittled, or frankly, like dehumanized. Just dehumanized simply because of their cultural heritage, race, gender, or sex, and religion. And many of these religions, by the way, that they were disgraced from, quote unquote, is because they didn't follow the cultural norms. And that's just not okay.
Well, we actually, not to interrupt you.
Yeah, please.
In like 2 weeks, we should be releasing a Voodoo episode, and it really highlights that.
So, yes, I'm a white woman, but I am fluent in Spanish, and I know a thing or two about Latin culture, including Santeria. It's been an honor and a privilege for me as a white woman to have been let into such a religion and spiritual practice of Santeria, because as I cover in Voodoo episode, those religions that are from West Africa and other places of the world are so closely tied to those people who were marginalized that it's almost like a not for white people thing, because we never experienced the debasing that those communities did. But as a reminder, and to tie it back to this theme of this episode, Santeria is a connection from West Africa. And that practice and connection is from Yoruba, which is a group of people from West Africa. And they really worship their ancestors and a lot of gods or deities known as orishas. Again, those practices were forcibly brought with enslaved peoples to the Americas, and unfortunately, they had to hide their religion and their rightful practices from Africa, and therefore this gave way to the awful phenomena that I will go into briefly here, more in depth later in the Voodoo episode, but syncretization, which is, again, a phenomenon where mythologies, religions, and beliefs are blended, and often occurs in the expression of arts or culture, and sometimes even politics, unfortunately, which we can see with our New Age friends, or like, what do you call it? New Life. That's what it is. New Life churches that like followed lovely former president to be unnamed.
What is New Age Christian, though?
I don't know much about it other than they...
That's like when you're non-denominational, right?
I believe so, but they're the ones with the mega churches.
Oh, okay.
And like the ones that are preaching to you about do this, yet they support Donald Trump. If you're Christian, you don't support a man like that.
Evangelical?
Yeah, evangelical.
They're New Age?
I don't quote me on that. I don't know.
So... That would be something I'd be interested in learning about because I know nothing about them, but other than they're like fucking nutcases.
Yeah, they just, and they're hypocrites too, right? Like how are all these people going to support a man like Donald Trump who's talking about pussy and yet they don't care, they still endorse him? That's not Christian. The last time I heard.
Well, I thought voting for Trump was the religious vote.
You guys should see.
He's against abortion.
On it. I love it. She is an Indiana character right now. Mike Pence, right there. That is she from Indiana. Represent.
My friends were texting me from home that there was a whole Trump rally that shut down the whole, we have one little highway. And it shut down, I think it's the 69 at home. It shut down the whole highway. It was a whole Trump rally.
That's so fucking scary.
I was like, thank God I moved away.
Where the fuck is Pence now, by the way? Any ideas? Is he in hiding or what's he up to?
I mean, I have no idea.
But
that is an interesting question. I would like to know.
Where is he now, listeners? Tell us. Where the fuck is Mike Pence right now? Because
I mean, he's probably still being a god-awful human being. I mean, he should be in hell, if there is a hell.
Yeah, I can't believe you call yourself a godly person and support that fucking piece of shit. But blindly, too, right? Just so, yes, sir, fuck you.
Yeah, and then he was okay with him, basically being killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on because I'm pissed. The African traditions, again, came over with enslaved peoples that were then forced to be masked by Catholicism, as I said. And by the early 19th century, you are gonna get as I cover this way more in depth, as Amy mentioned, in Voodoo, but you get Cuban Santeria, Brazilian Candomblé, I don't even know how to pronounce it, I apologize, I don't speak Portuguese, Haitian Voodoo, and New Orleans Voodoo. But it's essentially a way of survival, right, for any enslaved people, and good on ya. So again, while Voodoo and Santeria have their roots in West Africa, unfortunately, the minimal power that enslaved people gained from practicing the quote-unquote occult religions and Santeria gave way to this term again and this phenomena called syncretism. So through the years...
So we're basically whitewashing them?
Yeah, bingo. There you go. That is the most simplest down version of it. Exactly. Because you're whitewashing them to believe your beliefs and your traditions and making it quote unquote safe for the white people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all that to set the stage for digital witchcraft and its rampant growth among millennials, especially millennials of women of color. Essentially, witchcraft became a way for millennials to escape again those structures placed upon them by those traditional religious systems. That really, those religious systems, as you just so beautifully said again, was really those religions were forced upon them as a way to oppress them even more, and women at large, frankly. I'm going to take us now to the mid-Atlantic region of the U.S.
Is this where we get happy information?
Not till the end.
Okay. So we got to
hold on for a little bit more.
You're because I asked you before we started recording, I'm like, is this happy story, sad story? And you're like, it's sad. So
but ends on a very good note for feminists.
Okay. So it's like my story I told at the end. I was like, it's really happy. But let me just tell 10 minutes of sad shit and then 1 minute of something that's kind of a glimmer of hope.
Yeah. So we're going to go to Baltimore in a hotel ballroom / conference center in 2015, excuse me. There's nearly 200 of mostly African-American women who are gathering at the 3rd annual Black Witch Conference or convention. And they're there.
2015?
Yep.
Okay.
So again, before COVID, they're there.
Before Trump.
Oh, God. Ugh. Anyway, they're there to gather and really reclaim their power. And that theme was rampant throughout the whole convention. And they were there to be together as sisters and have voices as one community. They're chanting a call and response led by the convention's keynote speaker, pardon the pronunciation, Aiwayo Orisa Omitola. So I apologize on pronunciation. Omitola, we'll call her from here on out, the keynote speaker of this Black Witches Convention, says, "No one's going to protect us, but who?" What do you think the call and response is?
Me.
Us.
Oh, I was saying me.
Very close, but us, because they're there as sisters, right? They're there as a...
Okay.
So, no one's going to protect us but who?
Us.
Yeah.
I actually would say me, but yeah.
Yeah, so that was the chant that was going on during this convention. White millennials have been practicing and turning to Wicca since the early 2010s, but African American millennials have also embraced their Western African religious roots. As I said, millennials have been turning towards this, whatever race you are, because it's counterculture-y almost to those the stringent religions, whatever it was that we were raised in, to, again, a DIY type of practice, spirituality, if you will. Again, so Black communities of millennials have embraced their West African roots, again, via practices like Voodoo and Santeria and other type of witchcraft, The trend, as we can see very clearly, is like it has exploded in the last 5 years or in 10 years among this community specifically. You can even see it in pop culture. So we have Beyonce's Lemonade that alludes to it.
I never watched that, did you?
No, or listened. Only listened to parts. But,
Me either.
But she talks about it, about us, about Black women being queens. Azalea Banks and Princess Nokia both also have songs alluding to brujeria. Brujeria is a Spanish term for witchcraft. So
do I know those people?
I don't know anyone about Beyonce either. I looked it up. I love that it brings in Spanish because of my ties.
So they're Spanish pop stars?
No, they're R&B. It's like American.
But you know their music?
I think I've heard maybe Princess Nokia's before, but there's one lyric that she says in her song called Brujas, again means witches, that explicitly says to white witches, everything you got from us. And she ain't wrong. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, that's where the confrontation of cultural appropriation comes in, because you have all these white millennials saying they're Wiccans, but guess what? All the things from Wicca, I can't say all of them because that was its own religion in Europe, but a lot of it is so similar to the West African roots and beliefs of different deities. And so I can't be mad. As white women, it might be easy for us to get offended. I don't get offended like that about that. But
well, I mean, I don't know anything about Wicca, so I have no opinion.
Exactly. So if you think about why there's lyrics like that, and rightfully so, you understand the anger for Black women. You and I never had to hide who we are, nor our beliefs. Because you didn't come from a religious family. You and I never really necessarily had to hide, though, right? For our safety, for our lives. These women did. And they had so many distant relatives who were enslaved people that unfortunately had to hide witchcraft to save their lives, honestly. Mm-hmm. So again, these grandmothers of so many women of color had to hide their real roots from West Africa, like Voodoo, Santeria, etc., all the other religions that came from Africa forcibly through syncretization. The millennial granddaughters are now alive and
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, amazing women, and they're like,
it's like, well, you should be it's awesome that like people are like being proud of their culture, and where they're from.
Exactly. So they're like, fuck this and fuck the secrecy. We've been forced to keep about our heritage. Today, many Black young women practice these rituals derived from Yoruba-based faiths, and again, of course, they've added.
That word you just said, that means South or
Yoruba is a tribe from West Africa.
Okay, West Africa.
Yeah,
right?
And that's where Santeria comes from. That's how I know about it. Back to other practicing witches, they've also come to witchcraft as a safe place to be themselves without retribution or judgment, again, from the church. At the end of the day, whether you're religious or spiritual, who gives a fuck if you're a good human whose values
100%,
whose values align, right? Like with treating yourself and others with dignity and respect. Like, who gives a fuck?
I love it.
I have last little bit here. This is from Omitola, who was the keynote speaker at the Black Witches Convention. We may not be Christian here, but we still pray. I understand God now more than I ever did in the church. She then goes on to acknowledge the Me Too movement, which was rampant at that time in 2015. But she reminded the women in the crowd who are often, and how they are still underrepresented to this day in 2021 in media and other witch communities. And I love this end quote, baby. So here's where it gets good. Here's the high note for all us feminists out there.
Like the 1% of
Here
the story.
we go. Omitola quote on her keynote speak at the 2015 Black Witch Convention says, "One thing I know from studying African religions is I've never seen one subservient goddess. So why are we sitting here thinking we have to be subservient?" And well, amen! This is all I got to say about that.
I love it. Okay, so mine has to do with a pop star in Africa.
A pop star in Africa.
Do you have any guesses who my story involves? He, she?
I feel real ignorant right now. Because should I know?
No.
Is it that one guy that did that song that you told me about?
Oh. Why can't I think of his name?
Oh my god, the fucking song.
I love it because when I was in Africa, they would play his songs all the time.
Yeah, I forgot his name.
Starts with A. Akon.
Oh, no, I was thinking of somebody else.
Akon is from Africa, but anyway.
Oh, he is? I don't know that. Anyway,
Yeah.
Okay, so then no, I have no idea.
When I was there, they had so much pride. Like, we would drive around.
It's on a young Jesus.
That's not it.
Yeah.
No.
Akon.
No. Oh, shit. Let me Google this for a second.
Akon. Yeah.
He's the one. I want to make love right now, nah. Okay. Yeah. They loved him when I was there because he just came out. So my story involves Michael Jackson.
I said it! Didn't I not? In our first take, I was like, Michael Jackson. He's not from Africa. He's from Indiana.
But it has a lot to do... Let me get there.
Okay. I'm like, hold up. I know he's African-American, but he ain't from Africa.
First of all, when I was in Swaziland, there was a rumor, I don't believe it's true, but Michael Jackson went to perform and do a concert.
Okay.
And the king...
while you were there, or is this years ago? Like in
years
the 80s?
ago.
Okay.
Like, people who lived there told me the story.
Okay, got it.
I don't know if it's true, but the story was that the king said when Michael Jackson came to visit... there's a bunch, like, where I was staying, there was a bunch of speed bumps.
Okay.
And the king, ordered for all the speed bumps to be removed. They're like, no, Michael Jackson cannot be disturbed by the speed bumps.
God forbid.
I don't think it really happened, but it was, the big thing, the big story people would tell while I was there.
Okay.
Which I thought was, a cute little
Which
tidbit.
is the least amount of scandal around that man's life. So...
Now, let me tell you why I'm including Michael Jackson in my story.
Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God.
So, in 2003, Michael Jackson paid $150,000 to an African witch doctor to put a hex on Steven Spielberg
What?
and countless others.
Why Steven Spielberg?
We'll get into it.
Okay.
Isn't that freaking weird?
I mean... Nothing about that man's behavior to me is weird because we know that weirdness is his thing.
Exactly. Everything about him is bizarre.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he went through some trauma that we'll never know, but regardless. Not excusing his behavior.
So I'm going to leave it with that little teaser. But before we get into the whole story of Michael Jackson...
I said it! I knew it! I'm like, what?
It took you a while, though. You had a few minutes.
It took me a minute. But I was like, Michael? But he's not at her yet. So that's where I was like, no, can't be.
I'm going to briefly cover what a witch doctor is because I left it out of my history on purpose because I thought I would tie into this story.
Okay.
And a witch doctor was originally a healer who treated ailments believed to be caused by witchcraft.
Okay.
The term now is used more to describe someone who is a healer. So
Okay.
not really so much associated with witchcraft.
Okay.
And they often heal people traditional healing rather than contemporary medicine.
Yeah.
And we all know traditional medicine is going to be looking at what you're eating, changing your diet, incorporating plant and animal
Herbs,
medicines,
yeah.
yoga, all that good stuff.
Sure.
And so there are historic records of witch doctors in Europe, Africa, Nepal, and northeastern India. So the first record of a witch doctor was found in a book in 1836. It is very common for many Africans from different parts of the continent to go see a witch doctor today.
Okay.
So this isn't an old practice. It's something they still practice today.
Got it. Okay.
And in Tanzania and other African countries, there are several reasons why they see a witch doctor before they go visit like a hospital or a clinic. So the first reason, it's going to be much cheaper. Second, a lot of Tanzanians and other Africans don't have access to a hospital. And then Western medicine, I'm not saying like today, but it's one of those things like I talked about earlier.
Wait, sorry, access via like physical, like lack of like remoteness where they live?
Yeah, they're living in
like financial like means. Probably both.
Both, but they're living in remote villages, so like if something happens to you, you're not going to drive 4 hours to the hospital.
Got it.
You're going to go see your local witch doctor.
Got it. Okay.
And then Western medicine is more of a new thing. Like I said earlier, like shifting the mindset about like witches in general is going to take a long time.
Yeah.
So in Tanzania, it's like a new thing, this contemporary medicine. So they actually are like very skeptical of it.
Of modern medicine, quote
yes,
unquote.
modern medicine, yes.
Western medicine, got it.
And so they feel more comfortable, and it's more part of their culture to go see a witch doctor or a healer.
Okay.
Because it's been around for thousands of years.
Sure.
And it's like just more accepted in their culture.
Sure.
So in most villages, and has like their own healer or witch doctor, like assigned witch doctor.
Okay.
And they're called a babu. And a babu in Swahili means grandfather. You go see your grandfather.
Cool. I love that.
So witch doctors are a great resource for communities, and they're widely utilized. Before we get into the bad stuff, I want to talk about that most people hear the word witch doctor and they're triggered. They think it's like all bad, kind of like Republicans. Like you hear Republican and you get triggered.
Yep.
There are some good ones though, I guess.
Click.
But before I get into the horrific witch doctor I'm going to talk about today that's associated with Michael Jackson, I want to talk about some of the ways that witch doctors really contribute to society in like a positive way.
Sure, I would imagine.
And they're like more holistic. They're not just like there for your physical health. So they're more like
mind, body, spirit. Absolutely.
Describes like mental health workers. They're the peacemaker. Like if like there's different rival groups in the region, they're going to work with them. They're going to be like a family therapist. They're going to be a marriage counselor.
How fucking cool.
So they like help really bring families back together. So there's a lot of good things they contribute. So I feel like my story, I want to put that out there. It's not all bad. They're there to like practice spiritual rituals and keep the community safe and thriving. Really to help these families prosper, and like they're there, like they also do like spiritual ceremonies, like let's protect your community, like from disaster, like a natural disaster, a disease. But obviously my story will highlight there are very horrible witch doctors out there, and it is a huge problem.
Oh, okay.
And very rampant.
That I didn't realize.
So in 2015, BBC reported that over 200 witch doctors and traditional healers were arrested in Tanzania for murdering albino people.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's a huge problem there. So
wait, sorry. This is so ignorant. I apologize, but like, what's the population of albino people?
That is a question I can't answer.
But like, I guess there's enough that people are murdering them. Mm-hmm. How sad.
Yeah, horrific. I mean, I couldn't answer population. I don't know those statistics.
Okay.
But that's a good question. So,
just because it's at least in the States, again, Western lens, but like there's not that many, and it's such a rare phenomena. So maybe it's more common in Africa?
Maybe. I mean, that's a really interesting question, and I do not know how to answer it. So witch doctors were like the messengers that like basically told people that like, if you bring in albino body parts, it's going to help us, like, it's going to bring you good luck. It's going to bring you wealth.
Oh, my God.
So witch doctors would be willing to sometimes pay up to $75,000 for a complete set of body parts from an albino person.
Oh, my God.
Which is, like, a shit ton of money, right?
Getting really upset.
So almost 80 albino Tanzanians have been killed since 2000, and this has led the government to ban witch doctors to help protect people. With like it's trying to protect people who have albinism, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, I that one I will have to look up as well. But oh my god.
So, and this kind of ties back to my trip
I am amazed
in Swaziland.
Oh my god, and Michael bleached himself. Is there a tie there?
No.
Oh, fuck. Well.
And actually, when I was in Southeast Asia, that is not uncommon for other countries. Like, I was in Southeast Asia. I was in Thailand, or I was in Vietnam, but they sell bleach kits.
Yeah. So when I went to Japan, my roommate is, she lived in Korea, but she was Cambodian by heritage. And she was telling me that Cambodian women, same thing. They bleached their faces. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
No, they had bleach kits.
Yeah. She's like,
and for them, it seemed outrageous that I would love to go out and just tan.
Right. So we're opposite. Oh.
Well, it's always the grass is greener on the other side. If you have straight hair, you want curly hair.
Yep.
This is my whole personal tie. So in Swaziland, where I was for 2 months, the country I was at, I found an article that stated the second largest hospital in southern Africa, was in Swaziland, was reported to be operating in the black market and buying human body parts to be used in spells.
Oh my god.
And I'm not sure. The article came out. They're like, this is being reported. We can't give you, we can't let you know if this is 100% true. So it is said that traditional healers or witch doctors would grind up body parts and combine them with herbs and other ingredients to create potions for their clients.
Ugh.
I think I talked about this earlier. Like, the clients rub
horrific.
these potions into their skin or any open wounds.
Oh.
And I have to tell you, after researching this, I'm so glad I did not know this before I went. And I hate, it makes me sad, report all this, horrific information, because it's such a great place. But you're probably, sitting here what the hell?
No, I want to go. Still, I've been dying to go to that continent forever.
And that, kind of ties me back to, so my friend, while we were there, I mentioned it earlier, we would shove ourselves into these public buses, not really buses, vans.
Makeshift buses.
Yeah. And so we were in these little vans and we go to these care points and we'd go volunteer for a few hours every day with the kids. And one of my friends told me while I was there later on, she's like, I found out they were snatching people up and selling their body parts to the market.
Your people up.
I don't know if that's true, but
hide your Amy, hide your friend.
That's what she told me, though, and I was like, that is messed up if that is true. She told me, and I was just like, it kind of seems...
I bet you it was happening, but you're thank God, a little bit oblivious.
And I do want to bring up, this is not a common thing. Unfortunately, America, how safe do you feel going to the movie theater when you see someone holding a duffel bag?
Hell no.
Because me and Corey had that experience. We went to a movie.
When?
Well, it was not a big deal, but me and Corey went to the movies, and this guy probably honestly just went to the gym and worked out and got cleaned up.
Leave that shit in your car.
But he had a duffel bag, and I feel living here, those little things shouldn't be a trigger, but living here, that triggers you because there's 100%. So many shootings. So I just want to put that in perspective for people who are listening. It's horrific things happen here.
Oh, yeah. All the time. That's why we listen to horrific shit.
Yes. But I do want to bring up, witch doctors in that region have been using body parts for centuries.
Sure.
And they predict they will continue to do so even though it's outlawed. It's just something that's going to keep happening. It's until we keep... I said earlier, it's just until we change the society.
Right.
Tying it back all to Michael Jackson, right?
Yeah. Because I literally, once you started talking about albino, I was like, okay, well, that dude bleached himself. Not even close? Remotely?
If there is a connection, I don't know it. I'll say that. Okay, so I'm obviously not a Michael Jackson expert. I know people know a lot about him.
You're not? No.
And I'm going to do a quick... I'm going to do a quick rundown of his year by year, so to give you a picture of where he's at in his life.
Okay.
A really condensed version, okay?
Yeah, sure.
So 1982, he released Thriller.
Okay. Ever know the dance moves? I did in my speech arts class.
It's an amazing song.
I can't remember them now, but I did learn them at one point in my life.
And this is irrelevant, but I included it. 1984, Jackson's hair catches on fire during filming a Pepsi commercial.
Oh, I've heard this. Yes, I have heard that rumor.
I never have.
Occurrence.
1987, news reports say Jackson tries to buy the skeleton of the Elephant Man.
Oh, I've heard that too. Yep.
See, I don't know any of this stuff. 1993, I know this. A lawsuit claims that Jackson seduced and abused a 13-year-old boy. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to move 10 years later, 2003. He faces charges of child molestation, posts $3 million in bail, and throws up the V sign while standing on a black Suburban before leaving the courthouse in Santa Maria, California. 2004, Jackson pleads not guilty to child molestation charges in January. 2005, in June, Jackson was acquitted of child molestation charges. And then I put in captions, died in 2009. Because I couldn't remember when he died.
Interesting. Yeah, he did. I remember that very clearly. I was on my internship, and I remember because I was literally looking up tickets for X and I to go to, and then he passed away. Whoa. Wait, so I didn't watch any of the documentaries, did you? About his alleged molestation?
No, people kept saying, you gotta watch this. Like, coworkers, you gotta watch it. And I was like...
And the ex was like, I've never seen him, like, that emotional. Well, yes, I have. That's a lie. But he was so upset by watching that documentary because he idolized Michael. His father did. His mother did. Like, they were 80s children. His mother was an 80s child, and so she like played it for him and like would always dance with him. And that's some of the fondest memories of his mother. And then when he watched that docu, he was like destroyed. And I was like, oh shit, I don't think I can handle this. If you're that upset, I can't handle this.
I never watched it because first of all, I like Michael Jackson's singles, right?
Yeah.
But I'm obviously not a big fan because I had to Google all this stuff. I don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't really grow up listening to him. I heard him on the radio.
Sure.
Like all of us did. But I didn't really have a connection with him, so it didn't really set me apart. And I guess I was never too invested in his story. I mean, it's upsetting. But I never was, like, emotionally invested.
Sure.
Like, basically, my short, like, synopsis of Michael Jackson
what's the connect? I don't get it.
So I'm basically telling you, early 2000s is kind of when we picked up on that Michael Jackson was kind of a freak. Mm-hmm. And his life was, like, raveling apart. And the public was starting to really learn about all his weird, bizarre behaviors.
Sure. Okay. Following.
And like you said... It was in 2003 we learned he was bleaching his skin. Mm-hmm. So in November in Berlin, I'm sure everyone remembers. I even remember myself.
Blanket.
Blanket.
No, that's not that incident where he took his son named Blanket.
Oh, I didn't know his son was named Blanket.
Yeah.
Did you name your son Blanket?
Yeah, obviously there's something wrong there.
Yes, so he was dangling his son. I had no idea his name was Blanket. Yeah. That's a horrible name. I'm sorry.
You missed that. That's like the headline. His name is Blanket.
That's awful.
And he dangles Blanket. Ugh.
I remember dangling. I don't remember the Blanket.
It's just awful. In all circumstances, it's just horrendous.
Well, I mean, naming your kid Blanket is kind of awful to begin with.
Those poor children.
That same year, so I just want to like set up a timeline so everyone knows where we're at in his weird life. So in February of that year too, a British documentary was released, and in that documentary, he talked about the fact that he would sleep in the same bed as young boys.
Oh yeah, I remember this. It's all coming back to me now. Yep, and I remember the journalist being British. Yep, that makes sense.
So the same year, Vanity Fair came out with an article in 2003 written by Maureen Oath, where I got a lot of my information. And she was letting the public know that Jackson had attended a voodoo ritual in Switzerland where a witch doctor from Africa promised him that he could cast a spell that would kill Steven Spielberg, David Geffen, and 23 other people that Jackson had worked with, but at this point had decided they were enemies.
Remind me who David Geffen is? Do you know? I don't know.
I do. So, basically, David Geffen and Spielberg were partners in DreamWorks. So they're producers.
Got it. Okay.
And I'll get into why he hated them so much.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
So a witch doctor named Baba, which I told you earlier in Swahili means grandfather.
Yeah.
Promised Jackson that David Geffen would die at the end of the week after he performed his ritual. So he really had it out for him. Like, he really hated him.
That's very intense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell me more. I'm very curious.
So Baba promised Jackson that his ritual would help him become wealthy. And the main reason you're thinking he is a huge pop star, but he was $240 million in debt.
Okay.
And they calculated it didn't matter how much money, like, singles he sold or, like, albums he came out with, he was basically never going to be able to pay that money back.
That's so scary to think about the lack of financial education, A, in this country, but B, like, that amount of wealth and you yet still end up in this position. Wow, that's scary.
Mm-hmm. Jackson had his business advisor wire $150,000 to a bank in Mali to a witch doctor named Baba, who I keep mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly he sacrificed 42 cows for the ceremony.
Oh my God.
How horrific.
42. Wow.
Vanity Fair went to Spielberg and was like asking him about the ritual, right? And Spielberg stated that he only had a few short, like, small interactions with Jackson. He's like, I didn't have a relationship with him. And in the New York Daily Times, he was quoted stating, "This is bizarre, but what else is new?" Kind of like Jackson is
bizarre in general. Yeah.
Well, I saw Jacko Wacko.
Oh, yes. Wacko. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
That's so sad. Yeah.
But that's kind of, to me, sad.
It's so sad because
I feel like he needed help.
Exactly. Clearly he needed mental health treatment that he was never given because probably his religious parents didn't believe in. And
I know, but even I feel like celebrities get so screwed on that because they go through these, like, crazy stages.
But look at Britney. She's being fucking held against her will.
But it's like the whole world gets to watch you go through a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Like, you're at your weakest, worst moment.
Yep.
And we're like the audience, like, oh,
literally the whole world.
Give me my popcorn.
Yep. It's awful.
To answer your question, who is David Geffen? Because I didn't know the name.
Yeah.
Spielberg and him were partners in DreamWorks, right?
Okay.
And Jackson's dream was just, like, basically to star as Peter Pan in Hook. And they were creating the movie Hook.
Oh, I have so many chills right now. Like, that, again, tied to mental health. Holy shit. That's so eerie and uncanny that he would want that role so bad.
Mm-hmm. No, it makes sense.
Oh,
he was like a little boy.
Well, Neverland Ranch.
Yeah.
You know? He was... no, what's the word? Not regressed. Stunted mentally growth wise. So, anyway.
But anyway, he didn't get the role. And so, like, his thing was like, fuck you, you ruined my career. I'm out to get you, right?
Okay. Wow. You're right. I am. Holy shit. I'm on the hook, no pun intended.
And so this wasn't the only witch doctor that Jackson worked with. Basically, he was, like, desperate. He wanted to get himself out of debt.
Okay.
And his career had been on the decline, like I mentioned, since 1993, when the first allegations of him sexually abusing young boys came out. It was, like, the whole, like, spiral decline of his career and mental health life in general.
Sure.
So it is reported that he paid over 6 figures for ritual cleansing that involved using sheep blood. A Saudi prince had recommended an Egyptian woman named Samaya, who was a proclaimed voodoo doctor.
Okay.
Jackson went to visit Samaya, the Egyptian woman in Geneva, and she took him down to her basement where she has piles and piles of money. She told him that the money was all of $100 bills and equaled up to $300 million.
Pay off his debt. Bait and switch type shit.
Yeah, it's
really awful.
Part of you feels sorry for him, part of you doesn't.
Same.
She told Jackson through a ritual he could be the owner of all this money and that she could help him get a yacht and a beautiful villa. She then arranged for 3 of her men to fly out to Neverland to discuss this deal further. They were sent there to discuss how the ritual would work. Jackson asked his business advisor, Leo, to authorize for $1 million to be brought to the ranch. His business advisor refused, but it is said that Jackson found another way to find the money. Lee later was given a $20,000 bill for an armored truck to deliver the money.
Jesus.
I couldn't find any reports to what actually came out of this deal, but I'm assuming he was never given the $3 million.
Sure.
I'm sure he wasn't. I'm sure they were like, he was desperate.
Yeah.
They were playing him like for like a fool.
Absolutely. Jackson
Jackson later on requested that Lee went to find another voodoo doctor whose supposed specialty was like to produce money. Like find me a voodoo doctor who can make money happen for me. I'm desperate.
Right.
He's
Manifest
so
money.
desperate.
Yeah. God.
Like, what else can you do? $240 million in debt? That's like a number you can't even fathom.
Which is so weird because you seeing this man in such celebrity, you think the wealth that he has is infinite, but obviously not. It's a weird back to celebrity culture of like, how do you blow through that much money as a layperson? People, we can't fathom it.
But those numbers are so big, you're not even able to analyze them when they're coming in. It's like a number is so atrociously big. Like,
yeah.
How would you even in your mind actually analyze those numbers?
Yeah. I can't.
Lee is the business advisor, right? Okay. So he asked him to go see a voodoo doctor, right? And he's going to go see someone who's supposed to help Jackson get some money.
Okay.
So Lee went there and he watched a show produced by a voodoo doctor, and it was a show of lights and sounds, and it had pigeons in it too, right?
Okay.
So imagine a very theatrical and magical show, right? After the show, the witch doctor, or not a witch doctor, sorry, it's a voodoo doctor, would take one person at a time to a bathroom, and there was a tub full of money. So when Lee asked the doctor how much money was in the tub, he said, I have $50 million in this tub, just laying here. And the doctor told him it's all from the U.S. Federal Reserve.
Fuck did he get that? How do I get that?
Yeah, this is all what?
How do I get my hands on the Federal Reserve gold?
This person's honestly just a con artist.
Avi.
So there's one big catch. So if Jackson didn't pay thousands of dollars for blood of different variety of small animals, for another ritual, all the money would disappear.
Oh no.
So
such a bean switch.
So the doctor's saying hey, here's all this money, but you got to pay me money.
Yep.
For me to perform this ritual.
So you get your money, which you'll never get. Oh my God, I'm so upset.
And so the business advisor...
Upset.
Business advisor basically was grossed out. Was what the hell is this? And just walked away. He's I am not dealing with this BS anymore.
But it took a little long, but good at some point.
This business advisor is being paid bank.
True.
So if he's not reporting to Jackson and telling him exactly what he wants to hear, he's probably scared. He's this is my huge paycheck.
Right.
This is on the line.
Right.
But that is my short version of the absurd, crazy Michael Jackson world I did not know about. Did you know about it?
I knew he was a pedo.
I think we all knew that. That was common knowledge.
Yeah, and I knew Bleach Your Skin. I obviously love his hits. I dance to them still, even though we're supposed to not.
The one that gets me is R. Kelly.
Oh, that docu.
What is it called? Ignite, the song?
Ignition Remix.
That song I absolutely love, and I'm damn it.
Used to, but oh man.
I don't listen to it anymore, but
yeah, it's so upsetting. But he got indicted actually recently.
No, that was great news.
So I was ah!
Did you see the whole meme was floating around? I thought it was hilarious. It was wedding DJs. It's okay, it was R. Kelly, Michael Jackson.
But the no playlist.
It's Bruno Mars, don't fuck this up for us. You're our one person. Come on. Be a good person.
I love gonna come out about his ass. But
no, don't say that. I love Bruno Mars. I absolutely love him.
I didn't know any of this about Michael. I knew obviously bizarreness, we all did, but I had no idea the connection to witch doctors. Holy shit.
I didn't either, and I came across this and I was how is this not a bigger story?
Whoa.
So the girl I mentioned earlier, Maureen Oath, she's kind of she was an investigative journalist, and she's the first one who I might get this wrong, but she was one who kind of cracked a lot of stories on him, the fact he was bleaching his skin. What was the thing with his nose?
Just a nose job.
Oh, okay.
Several, obviously.
Yeah, but she
literally knows now. But
she came out with a lot of the big stories, and she had been following him for years and years and years.
And she's British too, right? I think. I thought there was the British guy that did that docu that. Like
her, I couldn't tell you a thing about her. Okay. I just know her name, but I thought I should mention it.
Maybe she's not, but
give her some credit for all what she did.
Hell yeah!
But anyway,
damn, great job. Absolutely no idea.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Wow.
I mean, we all knew Michael Jackson was messed up, but this is another layer of messed up. Added to the, I don't know what you want to call it.
Just like fucked up child stars. I mean, like you can't not be fucked up if you're a child star. We got Justin, we got Brittany, the other Justin, we got Michael, we got...
So I listened to a beautiful interview the other day. It was Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, he's so fucking hot.
But he was an ET.
Weirdly, follow my logic, you're not gonna. Weirdly, a doppelganger, a white doppelganger, by the way, for my ex.
I don't see it.
Oh, anyway. I'll show you some poses where I'm like, holy shit. Anyway,
I don't see it, but I love him, and he was in an interview, and he was so like well balanced, good human. It was like,
yeah, he's a wonderful person.
But it's like, oh, it's nice to know that happens occasionally. But yeah, being I like sometimes it makes you question like when people get their kid, like they expose their kids to like or have them try it out to be like famous. It's like. I mean, I understand, like, your kid's really talented. They can make something of themselves. But it's, like, it has to be, like, an internal conflict. If you're a good parent, it's like, is this going to fuck them up?
Yeah, exactly. Or, if you're a good parent, you were there every fucking step of the way. And not to be a helicopter parent, but
I feel like
in that venue, you have to be if they're a child.
But I feel like, to be honest, maybe, let's be real, maybe a lot of us are just messed up, but we're not in the public view.
Sure. Oh, I'm 1,000% fucked up. Yeah.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, we are. Well, we're all fucked up. Cheers.
Maybe that's the realization we all came to. We're all messed up at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think we are.
It's been fun doing this, and I promise the next episode is not witches.
No, it is not.
And because it's Halloween week, we're going to do haunted places.
Woo-hoo.
And I'm afraid I might be a buzzkill because I don't really believe in it.
Oh, I'm taking this bitch to some haunted places. She's still not going to believe, but I
might. You never know.
I'm going to...
I'll be praising
we'll
Jesus.
Talk about this shit offline, but I would love to stay in like a haunted Arizona hotel.
I have before.
Which one? The Jerome?
There's multiple in Jerome, but I stayed in one in Jerome, and I honestly can't remember the name of it.
Jerome Grand? That's like the one.
Is it above a bar? That's all I remember.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's where we were at that time, where we were stuck on the mountain. Remember?
No, not that one. There's another one.
Oh.
Anyway,
I believe in that shit. Amy doesn't. You know,
I wasn't
really
scared,
fun.
honestly. I slept very well. With no worries.
Are you serious? Fuck that. So as Amy said, next week, haunted places. Come find us there. Peace, bewitches.
And should we haunt your little asses?
Yes. Ding.
Thanks for listening. Please rate and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and anywhere you listen to your podcast. Check us out on Instagram or bewitchedbanter.com. Suggestions for the show? Email us at bewitchedbanter@gmail.com. Credits, music, Phantom Fun by Jonathan Boyle from premiumbeat.com. Podcast edited and produced by Krista Hins and Amy Holt.